first started to get interested in burnout because of my clinical practice. I was a psychotherapist at the time, and I was seeing a lot of clients that were burning out but leaving their jobs, and I thought that was a shame. And then I also experienced it myself, so having a personal experience really got me interested in researching burnout in more detail. There are three kind of key dimensions to burnout. One is emotional exhaustion. It's both a psychological condition but also a physical condition, like you feel like tired in your bones. I think that's how people often describe it to me. The second component is what's called depersonalization, and that's more sort of how you react to the emotional exhaustion in some ways. Often people start to be more distant from their work, less emotionally invested because they can't cope with it. But also they might start to hate a job they once loved, or they might start to feel cynically about their clients or their colleagues or their peers. And then the third element is what's called sort of lack of personal achievement. So that's when you just don't feel like you're getting anywhere. So you sort of keep going, and even though other people may be saying that you are achieving, you just don't feel like you're achieving. And then when you have those three elements, then usually that's when people are fairly burnt out at that point and need to do something about it. One of the myths that I think often people believe about burnout is that you have to leave your job. And so this is one of the things that I obviously feel quite strongly about, having researched it in that area. And so a lot of talented people then find themselves taking less demanding work, which is not as fulfilling. So they end up in this kind of a bit of a negative kind of spiral around it. One of the key myths about burnout is people think it's about organisation and time management and long hours culture, and those things can be a factor, but they're actually probably a smaller factor than a lot of people think. It's really about the amount of emotional effort that you put into your work. And people that I researched who stayed in quite stressful and demanding roles tended to have quite a broad range of interests. So they had quite a lot of social connection. They may have sort of traditional hobbies, but also they might have second jobs or do voluntary work or something that's completely kind of different from their normal job. And that breadth, I think, is often quite a strong mitigator against burnout, both in prevention but also in terms of recovery. Big tip for preventing burnout happening in the first place it sounds simple, but it's harder than you might think, is really get to know your own rhythm. So when do you operate at your best? Is there a time of day to do the hard work? Is there a time of day to have rest? How often should you rest? How is it best for you to exercise? What kind of exercise works for you? Just really learn about how you can operate at your best. And I think if you can do that, then that is probably your best burnout prevention tool.